America wasn't born in speeches. It was born in covert operations. They sell us powdered wigs, noble signatures, and perfect lines for the history books. But if revolutions were won with words, Britain would have crushed this one in a week. The truth is harsher. To survive, the future United States became an underground network of espionage, piracy, and terror. And this is what it actually looked like. The Black Cabinet. The colonies were still technically under the crown. People still talked about petitions and compromise, but in reality, it was already war. Most just weren't ready to say it out loud. And right then, inside Congress, something was created that destroys the glossy myth forever. A structure designed to operate in the dark. Not for newspapers, not for applause, not for posterity, for survival. It was called the Committee of Secret Correspondence. Benjamin Franklin and his allies built a black ops syndicate. Secret correspondence, quiet contacts, people traveling under false names, conversations that couldn't be written down, networks that couldn't be shown, even to allies. Because if you want Europe's help, money, weapons, recognition, you can't ask openly. Openly means you've declared yourselves a rebel state. If Britain found out, these men wouldn't be heroes. They'd be hanged as traitors. And once you take that step, there is no way back. Here's the uncomfortable idea. The revolution didn't begin with a musket shot at Lexington. It began with a secret committee. That's the moment the holy Whigs made their real decision. We won't win with clean hands. And after that, it only gets darker, because diplomacy is the brain, but a revolution needs a fist. And they built one. Legal pirates. The British Empire ran on the ocean. Trade routes, ports, cargo, gold, insurance, and a navy that could crush a province like an insect. The Americans didn't have that kind of fleet, so they made a move that sounds like a mafia tactic today. Fine, we'll play by dirty rules. Congress issued letters of marque, official papers that changed the meaning of the war in a single line. Private ships were authorized to hunt British commerce. Over 1,700 privateers answered the call. This wasn't romance, it was a system. You have a ship, a crew, and guns. Here's your document. Now you're not a pirate. You're a weapon of the revolution. You sail out, seize British vessels, take the cargo, take the money, rip open supply lines, and spread fear. It was calculated. They couldn't beat Britain head-to-head at sea, so they aimed for the bloodstream, the economy. They wanted British merchants to think, this ship won't make it. They wanted insurance rates to spike, profits to turn into risk, war to become too expensive to sustain. Freedom was financed by spoils. Independence rode in hijacked cargo holds, but the ocean is one battlefield. Now picture a city where British soldiers already stand in the streets, boots on cobblestone, where a single whisper can get you ruined. That's where another kind of war began. A war where people weren't killed with bullets, they were killed with paper. Spies without names. While Britain held major cities, the Americans built a network that feels disturbingly modern. The Culper Spy Ring, created by order of George Washington himself. Aliases, couriers, dead drops, passwords, coded messages, and most importantly, a secret ledger where people became numbers. A person was a number. A place was a number. An event was a number. George Washington wasn't the heroic figure on a white horse. In the shadow ledger, he was simply Agent 711. And the network relied on phantoms, like Agent 355, a female spy embedded deep in British high society whose true identity remains a classified mystery to this day. If the British intercepted a letter, they saw strings of numbers and strange phrases. At best, it was a puzzle. At worst, it looked like nothing, because then came a technique that sounds like a magic trick but was brutal chemical warfare. A physician named Dr. James J. invented a sympathetic stain. Imagine a letter that looks blank. A British officer smirks. That's it? That's your revolution? Then the paper is treated with a specific chemical reagent and lines appear out of nowhere. The message rises from a clean sheet like a ghost. Freedom was written in ink you couldn't see. Ideals survive only when someone agrees to become a shadow. No glory, no name, no guarantee they'll be buried as a patriot instead of hanged as a spy. But spies are a needle. Britain tried to kill the revolution with an axe, not just with cannons or armies, but with the weapon that breaks wars from the inside: money. Economic sabotage. If you want to destroy an uprising, you don't have to win every battle. You only have to do one thing: make their money worthless. Because armies don't live on ideals. Armies live on bread, powder, boots, and pay that actually buys something. Now picture this. The British launched an official military counterfeiting operation. Deep in the hull of the warship HMS Phoenix, anchored in New York Harbor, they set up massive printing presses. They flooded the colonies with billions in fake continental dollars. A freezing, starving American soldier risks his life, then gets a piece of paper as payment. He takes it to a shopkeeper, and the shopkeeper looks at the bill the way you look at trash. I won't take it. Why? Counterfeit. How do you know? Everyone knows. The town is flooded. Tomorrow you won't be able to spend it anywhere. And the revolution starts dying, not on the battlefield, but in a store, in conversations, in rumors, in the fear that everything is collapsing. Panic spreads like a disease, inflation burns like a fire, distrust poisons everything. And when people stop believing in money, they stop believing in authority, even if that authority was a dream yesterday. You can lose a revolution at a checkout counter, and when an economy breaks, power gets nervous. Nervous power gets suspicious. And then it does what power always does. In every era, in every country, it looks for enemies inside. The terror within. Alongside the war against Britain, another war raged. Inside towns, on streets, inside families. Who is one of us and who is dangerous? Local committees of safety appeared to decide who was loyal, who supported boycotts, who stayed too quiet, who doubted, who refused to sign oaths, who traded with the wrong people. And here's the brutal truth. In peacetime, doubt is a right. In revolution, doubt becomes suspicion. You could be an ordinary person who didn't want politics, but a revolution doesn't respect I'm staying out of it, because staying out of it sounds like helping the enemy. So the dark side of freedom looked simple. Public pressure, accusations shouted in the open, social death. But it didn't end there. It ended in unspeakable violence. The romanticized idea of tar and feathering is a lie. It wasn't a harmless public shaming. Mobs of patriots would strip a loyalist neighbor naked, pour 200-degree boiling liquid pine pitch over his body, and cover him in feathers. The tar would literally cook the flesh, peeling the skin off the bone when it cooled or was ripped away. Not because everyone was evil, because revolution is an edge. America was being born as a country of liberty, and at the same time using brutal mob violence to crush anything that threatened it. The price of freedom. Let's say it plainly, without the gloss. America wasn't born clean, it was born as a survival project. To win, they legalized piracy, ran phantom spies, and tortured their own neighbors with boiling tar. In that kind of war, there are no clean hands. So here's the question that won't let go. If you lived in 1776 and knew that without the terror and the dirty work, the revolution would fail, would you support it? Or is a victory built in the shadows not a victory at all?